Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursday. We're very glad you're with us today. It is January 6, 2022. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the Zoom recording. If you have any comments you'd like to make throughout the presentation, or you have any questions, please feel free to just put your information in the chat box. For those watching on Facebook, if you have any questions, please just enter your questions in the comment field. We are monitoring that feed and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. We are going to review one or two resumes today live at the end of this presentation. If you'd like to submit your resume, you can do so via the chat box for those on Zoom. Just open up the where you see that blue arrow where it says File, and you'll be able to attach your resume. But I would recommend that you delete your header information. So you can leave your name on there if you want, but you may want to get rid of your phone number and email address and LinkedIn profile, just because this will be on LinkedIn, or this will be on Facebook and on the Career USA YouTube channel from here till eternity. So you may want to, if you want to remove that information, that'd be great. But we like to look at, if you have a resume you'd like us to look at, we'll do that at the end of the presentation. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I founded Career DFW, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group meets every Friday morning. The group's been around since the late 1990s, and I'll tell you about our program that we have coming up tomorrow morning at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the PIT crew, also known as the Practice Interview Team. All right, let me switch presentations here. The first thing I want to do before we sort of get started here is recognize Carol Brickell. She passed away on New Year's Eve. She was a big help to thousands of people around the DFW area, and I just want to thank her. She conducted 58 resume interviews for us on Thursday. So this presentation is really based on her information. All right, what we're going to do is first part of the presentation is we're going to talk about the ATS system. We'll talk about the one-page bio, about master resumes. We'll then go over the key component of a resume. And then if anybody wants to submit their resume, we'll be glad to look at that at the second part of this, or just answer questions for you. So I always think this is a funny way to think about things, that you want your resume to be the one they remember. What is it that's going to make your resume stand out? So for an ATS system, applicant tracking system, you've got to make sure that the parsing is good. You've got to make sure that the ATS system can read the information that you submit off your resume. So if your resume has a lot of features we're going to talk about in just a few seconds, if you have those on there, the resume will not be able to be read. Now, you also have to know that there's probably well over 100 different ATS systems out there. So when you're filling out an online application, or when you submit your resume and it parses and pulls that information, there's a good chance that it's not going to pull it in the right field or not going to pull it in correctly. That's why you've got to go back and verify and check each of those fields. So number one, don't use any special characters or special formatting. You want your text to all be left justified. You want it to be nice and plain, no special symbols. You can use a little round dot that a lot of people use, like we have here, just to the left of the don't. That's fine to use a single dot. All the systems recognize that. But no special formatting. You want to make sure you don't have any headers or footers, like if you're pulling it from Microsoft Word. Sometimes on the second page, you'll build the header or footer and it'll copy that information over. Don't do that because an ATS system will not pull that information in. You want to make sure that the keywords align to the job description. This is probably the most important thing that you can do when you're building your resume. You've got to look at the job description. We'll look at a job description in a few minutes and look at the keywords and make sure that those keywords get into your resume. If you're just submitting a generic resume, you probably have 0.001 chance of getting connected, being correctly reached out to, okay? So make sure those keywords align to the job description. There's a free feature out there that you can use called jobscan.co, where you can compare your resume to a job description. Please note that when you do that, you can only do 5 scans per month for free. I've also heard if you log out, clear your cache, you can get back in and probably get 5 more. But this is a great way to compare a job description to your resume. Now, make sure you don't put the, somebody said, I only got to like 70% or whatever. If you get to 70, 80%, you're in really good shape. But remember, when you're copying over that job description, you don't need to put in health benefits and 401k. Don't put that stuff in there because that's not going to copy. You're not going to have that on your resume because the benefits that they're offering in a job description isn't any part of what your resume is going to be. So just make sure you copy only that part of the resume into jobscan.co. Resume is an attachment. If they ask for a resume, attach a resume, because what I have heard is that most job recruiters, internal job recruiters at a company, when they're using an ATS system, they don't look at what the ATS system does. The ATS system just says, oh, here's the top 10 people who match what you're looking for. So then when the recruiter is looking at those things, they pop open your resume. So that's why it's important that your resume be clean and well formatted, and we'll go over that here at the end of coming up in just a few minutes. And if a ATS system asks for a cover letter, give them a cover letter. You want to give them a T cover letter, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit also. All right, so please be sure to keep these big pictures in mind. Number one, upload a resume that has no special formatting. Very, very important. Number two, be sure to review the information that has been uploaded. So remember that parsing that we talked about at the very beginning, the information that you give your resume, that the ATS system sucks into each of the different fields, there's a good chance they're not going to pull the right things in the right field. So be sure to go through, check that out. It'll take you a while to do that. And then most importantly, contact a person and let them know that you meet the requirements. Okay, so if you can, all right, so if you just fill out an online application and then you just sit back and wait, you have less than a 2% chance of getting that phone call, of them calling you up and saying, hey, we'd like to talk with you. But if you can reach out to somebody and let somebody know, hey, I saw your online job description. I'm qualified. I fill out my application. Here's the requisition number. I'd love to talk with you. You've got an opportunity. You have a much better opportunity for them to reach back out to you because, quite frankly, you've now moved to the top of the field. So number one, if you can find a first or second level LinkedIn connection at a company, that will help you immensely. If you can find a recruiter who posted the job, that'll be immensely beneficial. And the third, a recruiting or talent acquisition leader. So what we're saying here is that if you reach out, if you're looking online, you're at company XYZ, you can't find who the recruiter is at the company. So go look on LinkedIn, type in company XYZ, and look for the recruiting manager. Look for the talent acquisition leader. If you do that, what usually happens is they'll then pass that resume down to whoever's supposed to get it, and you may have a better chance of getting contacted versus the ATS system. All right, so let's talk about a resume versus a one-page bio. So a resume signals and it screams out, hey, I'm looking for a job. A one-page bio can be used, and it's a lot less, it's a great networking tool. A resume focuses on your work history and your details. A bio focuses on your major accomplishments, telling somebody what it is you can do for a company. A resume primarily is just to look for a job, where a bio you can use when you're networking, when you're talking with other people, when you're just trying to find out information. You can use a bio if you're going to be a speaker to send to somebody of here's what you could talk about, or here's what your areas of expertise are. So here's one format that we have for a bio. A bio does have a picture on it. You want to list your key concepts. You put a brief professional biography in there of where you worked at for companies. You may list your education down, you'll see in the lower right-hand side. The upper left-hand corner, you're going to put your name. You're going to have your contact information, make it easier for people to reach out to you. And then you're going to say your professional achievements and successes. You're going to list a few things that tell somebody why they should contact you. Here's a different format. This one's from a financial professional. Jay Fracero provided this one. And it's laid out a little bit differently, but please, please, please be very, very careful here, especially over here with target companies, that you want to make sure that if you're sending this to a company, if you're sending this to somebody at Pizza Hut, you better make sure that you put Pizza Hut at the very top of your target companies, okay? And if you're really sending this out to companies, you may not want to list, you may just want to list one, you may only list that one company, because they'll say, oh, well, you're also looking at these other companies. That isn't something we want to, isn't something we want to look at. So I'll put these in the, in just a few minutes, I'll put these two samples in the chat window for you to download. We'll do that here in just a couple minutes. All right, I want to talk a little bit about a master resume. So I've been in the work field for 30 years probably. So I have a folder in my desk that has probably 40 different resumes in it. From the first one I graduated, when I got out of college, back when you actually had to type it, you had to typeset a resume. I remember taking it to, instant print and having them, you typed up one resume, you never could change it, you couldn't be generic. But what I recommend you do is create a Word document, or whatever word processing program you use. Create a document that has all your jobs in it, every job you've had since high school. And if it was a high school job that was relevant to, it was a internship that you did that's relevant, and add that to it, and list all the names and supervisors and the dates and the addresses, 15, 20 bullet points of whatever your successes were. Make one big resume that you can then use, so that when you see a job description, you can take that master resume, save it as, and then eliminate everything that's not in the job description. As I said before, keywords are very important. You need to match that resume to your job. You need to match the job description to your resume. Very, very, very important, because there's a good chance that the person looking at these resumes that are coming in really doesn't know what this role is. I mean, they just sort of know, I'm looking for somebody who can do X, Y, and Z. So you've got to make sure it's very clear to the person reading your resume that you do X, Y, and Z. Make those things match, make those keywords match. So by having a master resume, you've made it easy to go, oh yeah, I did that and I've done this. And I'm sure everybody here has done a lot of really great things, but you don't want to tell them things that they don't need to know. You want to make it, because you want to get that phone call. That's what does a resume do? A resume doesn't get you a job. A resume only gets you a phone call. So you've got to be prepared on how can you get those phone calls? How can you get the most number of phone calls? All right, so the characteristics of a good resume. Number one, the goal of a good resume is to make it easy for the ATS system and screeners to determine that you're a good match for the job. Okay, very, very important. You've got to make it easy for the system. So it's very important to deal with formatting. It's very important for the overall length. If you're new in the work field, you probably can get your resume down to 1 page. But if you've been in the workforce for 10 to 20 years, you probably need 2 pages. 2 pages is acceptable. You could go to 3 pages if there were a few things that are relevant. Like I say, you take that master resume. If they ask for it in the job description and you can talk about it in your resume, especially under multiple jobs where it keeps the same keywords keep popping up, 3 pages is fine. Now, if you're working in the education field, if you're working for the government, they want to see your master resume. They want to see everything you've ever done, but that's only in education and government jobs. So the next question people always ask is, how many years should I put on my resume? All right, I've been working for 30 years. How far back should I go? So there's 3 choices here. And if you want to open up your chat window and put in the chat box A, B, or C, option A, show all of your experience. Option B, just show the recent 10 to 15 years. Or option C, show details about the most recent 10 to 15 years. I'll give everybody a chance to go through in the chat box, list what you want to do there. I'm going to go in, while you're doing that, I'm going to go add a couple files to the couple files that I mentioned here for the bios and stuff. All right, so far I've put in the, so I'm seeing B's and C's. Let's see, here we go back up, B's and C's, B's or C. All right, so most everybody thinks B or C. Personally, I like C, okay? I think that C is probably the best way to do it because you show your most recent experience, 10 to 15 years, but I think it's important to put a section called prior relevant experience at the end of that. And all you have to do is list the company and your job title. And the reason for that is that if you start telling star stories during the interview and you talk about something and it's not on the resume because it's something you did 10 or 15 years ago at a prior job, it would be really beneficial that, the recruiter's gonna go, wait a second, I don't see this on your resume. When did you do that? Where did you do that at? But so by listing it as prior relevant experience, you then have the opportunity to tell any star stories from those prior jobs. So personally, I like C, but B is fine. There are times, like I said, for A, if you're applying for an education or a government job, they want to see it all. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the key components of a resume. We're going to talk about the header, the summary, an optional section called key accomplishments if you're in sales, professional experience, previous relevant experience like we were just talking about, education, and then software skills at the very, very bottom of a resume. So the very first section in the header, you've got to have your name, you need a phone number, you need your city, state, and zip code, an email address, and a LinkedIn address. I looked at a resume a few days ago and there was no LinkedIn address. So I wasn't sure when I was looking for the person on LinkedIn if this was really the right person or not. So I had to sit there and match up their job history to go, oh yeah, this is the right person with that name. So put that in there. Please make sure Microsoft Word will automatically make a LinkedIn address or your email a hyperlink. Remove those hyperlinks because when you submit your resume into an ATS system, some ATS systems do not recognize hyperlinks, and it will mess up the system, especially if you have a G in there. So the G goes down below the line, the system just doesn't read it right. So always best to remove the hyperlinks because somebody can always highlight it, copy it, and get it in there if need be. You do not need a physical address. Okay, that's not necessary. You only need to fill in physical address if you're applying when you fill out that job application. But until that time, city, state, and zip code are all you need. The reason recruiters want to see a zip code, in some cases, they put a search into the ATS system, find me anybody who lives in 75248 within 25 miles. So that's how they'll limit their job search, because they figure that if you work more than 25 miles away from, if you live more than 25 miles away from where the job is, you probably don't want to deal with traffic like that every day. All right, the summary statement. It's not an objective, okay? You need to include key areas of expertise. You should modify this section for every application, because you want this to put as many keywords and to match this up as close to the job description as possible. If they're asking for a business, if the job title is a business analyst, you want to list business analyst on your resume to say this is who you are, if that's what you do. You want to make sure those areas of expertise are items that are in the job description. Once again, you're trying to match keywords. And in those areas of expertise, you want to make sure that the most important ones that you see in the job description are the top three, or the three that are on the very left-hand side, okay? I know that in the practice interview team, when we ask, sometimes when we ask candidates about, so see, you've got 9 bullet points here, what are your top, give me your top 2 things, and they'll go mention something and it's like not on the top row or not on the very left-hand side. And I go, well, wait a second, this isn't, you know, you want to make these things match up if you can. So try to pick the top row or what the ones on the left. All right, here's an optional field that you can put in for key accomplishments, primarily people in sales and business development. This is where you're going to put a couple key accomplishments as far as what it is you've done, where you, and what you, when you did it. Now, all 4 of these, in this case, there's 4 bullet points here. You want to make sure that all 4 of these bullet points are also under your job, under the job title, so we can see where it is you've done those things. Some recruiters don't like this field because all these bullet points should be also repeated underneath your job where you're actually looking for the job at. All right, for professional experience, number 1, you want to make sure it's in chronological order. A couple weeks ago, somebody reached out to me about a functional resume, because they thought it would be better, it would just showcase what they do better. Recruiters do not like functional resumes. Companies don't like functional resumes because they can't sort of get a handle exactly of who you are, what you've done, and where you've been, okay? So people like functional resumes. Number 2, you want to make sure you use parallel verbs. And what do I mean by that? So in red, currently this person is a business analyst, and those bullet points all start out with an action word that are current. In blue, you'll see that last one there is achieved, because that's a project that the person worked on that's been completed. So on your current job, you can have both current, both present and past tense. But for any job that you've done in the past, make sure that all of your bullet points are in the proper past tense. People are you got to remember, recruiters don't have 100 resumes. Top, 200, 300 resumes. As soon as they find the top 10 that don't have any mistakes, that don't have any misspellings, that don't have any the verbs are misaligned, those are the 10 they're going to pass along. They're just looking for a reason to pop you out of there, to get you out of there. So, you just be very careful with all your verb tense. You want to make sure that you include a 1-line description of the company. Very, very important. So as there are thousands, I forget how the numbers I've heard, there's hundreds of thousands of companies out there, there's several million companies out there around the globe, around the United States. I don't know what every company is. I've been doing this for 13+ years, and it still surprises me. I'll see when people go, they're looking for a job at this company or that company. I've never heard of that company. Where did that, what was it? The company's changed names, whatever it is. Let people know, a simple 1-line, who that company is, because that helps put the person reading the interview, it helps them at ease a little bit. You want to make sure you limit the number of bullet points. The most current job, 5 to 8, 8 at the most, 5 or 6 is probably good. And when you get the past jobs, 5, 4, 3, the farther back the job, the fewer the bullet points. And those bullet points have to be important to what's in the job description. If they're not in the job description, I don't really care, because I'm just trying to find somebody who can do this role, and we'll call you up and then we can hear about your other stories and the other successes you've had. Be sure to focus on results. You've got to make sure you don't want your resume to read like a job description. You want your resume to show me what you've done. What were the results? This is what I had to do, and this is the result I had from doing that. So Carol came up and she loved to talk about the so what game. So the original text here was guided the next phase of brand revolution for a multimedia artist and managed film production and publishing. Okay, that sounds like it would come off a job description. So the question was, so what? Well, what it did was it increased the business opportunities, which led to 10 new commissions for my customer, for my client. So if we enhance the thing and reword the original text, here's what we came up with. Increased business opportunities, including 10 new commissions for my client based on developing a full social media and PR strategy. So if you look at the original text, reads like a job description. The enhanced text, which focuses on results, gets in that you had 10 new commissions out of doing this. The only other thing I maybe would have added would be, did this within a 12-month period or in a 6-month period, whatever, to give you some kind of time frame. Because if you did this over 10 years, it really wouldn't have been as effective. And that probably would be a question I would have asked in the interview. So tell me, how long did it take you to get those 10 new commissions? So play the so what game. Read a bullet point on your resume, and if there's no result, ask, well, so what? What was the result? All right, if you've had multiple roles at one company, very important that you put one date at the very top and have it right justified. And then what you want to do next is you want to put the dates that you had each of those sub jobs, each jobs you had at that particular company B, underneath it, and put it right next to, in parentheses, right next to the title of the job. Okay, I see resumes occasionally, and it looks like the person's job hopping. They've been in this company, and then here it is for 2 years, and here for a year and a half, and then 2 years, and 2 years, and 3 years. Well, they actually all worked for the same company for the last 15 years, but they had these different jobs underneath the company. So by putting that original date at the very top on the upper right-hand side, it tells me you worked there for a long period of time. All right, how to handle companies that have changed names. Lots of companies change names. I know I have the company I worked for from 1987 to the year 2000 has changed names 3 times in that period, and then went bankrupt. So, what you want to make sure you have 2 choices here. You can give the current name of the company followed by the old name. So XYZ company, and then parentheses, formerly ABC company. Whoops. Or you can give the old name of the company first, ABC company, which was acquired by XYZ in 2008. So whatever works for you, whatever makes the most sense for you, because there was a company, I saw somebody's resume, the Heinz company, they have a facility somewhere in the DFW area. Everybody knows who Heinz company is, but the name of this new company I've never heard of before. So, because that's who acquired them, or how, however it's being held now. So I personally put down the Heinz company, the old name first, acquired by the new company in whatever year, because the first name is what's the most popular, what people actually know. Okay, if you have education and softwares, we want to talk about that. You want to list whatever degrees you've got. This is the degree, the school, the state, and then a list of software skills can go underneath it. The list of software skills, make sure that if they talk about those software skills, in the job description, you list them. If they don't list Microsoft Office, you don't need to list Microsoft Word, Excel, because most people figure that 99% of the people know how to use that, and you don't need to list it to tell people that. But if they want PowerPoint or pivot tables or Microsoft Project or Microsoft Access, if they ask for something unusual in the job description, make sure you ask for it. Make sure you list it in your job description. If you don't have a degree, please write something like this: just school, city, state, dash, and then list the major area of concentration and list the number of hours that you have. I don't think I would, if you want to say to be completed in 2022, that would be okay. But don't lie about your education. People will check, you will be found out, and many people have been fired over it. Wasn't there a coach at Notre Dame, football coach, who got fired because he listed a degree that he didn't have? And public figure, people are going to look and going to go see, wait a second, he never graduated from this college. So tell the truth. Okay, so here we have a job description on the left-hand side, the resume, or the beginning of a shortened resume on the right-hand side. So here are some important things. If they're asking for a business analyst, if that's the title, put business analyst as a title of your resume, okay? List it in your summary statement. It says innovative business analyst, the first couple words. Make sure that you pull those key requirements, business requirements. Pull those keywords over. Improving processes, make sure that's one of your areas of expertise. Cross-functional, use the terms that they're using in the job description on your resume, because keywords matter. Agile, Scrum, Visual Studio, make sure you pull those. Make sure, don't make me try to guess, well, I didn't see you had any Agile experience. Oh yeah, I did that for 7 years. Well, make sure you list those kinds of things on there. So, here's just really important. Look at take that job description on the left, highlight what you think are the important things, and make sure that you get those into your resume to make it easy. Because once again, the more keywords that you can match up from the resume to the job description is going to get your resume to the top on an ATS system. All right. Did anybody, let's see here, I don't think, did anybody submit a resume? I don't see one online. Let me look here, make sure nobody submitted anything. I don't see anything. If anybody has any questions, we can just sort of open this up for questions. I'm going to attach a resume. Let's see, here is the resume. So here's the resume that we talked about. It is in Microsoft Word, so you can download it. And that's the sample that we actually talked about during this presentation. So anybody have any questions about resumes? Questions, comments?
Hey, Jeff, this is Riley Moore. Good afternoon. How are you?
Yes. Hey, Riley, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks. One of the challenges that I'm seeing is consistently I get reached out to for analyst roles. I have a lot of management experience, but my most recent role was a senior analytics role. And I'm trying to help identify why I'm getting so many analyst contacts and very few for manager. So I'm going to see if I can figure out how to get my resume to you.
All right.
And I'm on a tablet. I really don't know how I'm going to do that.
Oh yeah, if you're on a tablet, it's hard to do. I mean, yeah, hard to do. If you want to send your resume to me at resume@careerdfw.org, I can take a look at it after this, and we can take a look and see. But I don't think people. I guess here's my question. You got to be very careful with. If you said you want to get into management, make sure your resume, that management, you don't list management on your resume, list it as manager, business analyst manager, because you want that to be not a noun, but a verb, because when people do a search for for somebody on LinkedIn or an ATS system, they're going to use it as a verb, not as a noun. So, without seeing a resume, I'm not sure if that could be an issue.
Okay, thanks. Can you give me that email address once more?
Yeah, resume@careerdfw.org. And I'll pop it up here in just a few seconds so people can see.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I'll make a couple of comments, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So, one of the things we teach about interviewing is how to analyze a job description, and then, what's a decent match. And Jeff mentioned this. I just want to reinforce it. If you have half, or so even a little less of the things that are on their job description, then go ahead and make a go of it, I would say. And that's primarily because you never know what they've left off the job description, and you never really know how old it might be. And so in big organizations especially, it's a very arduous task to get a job description completed, and that means it's difficult to change them. So they don't change very much over the years. And so if you got about a 50% match, I think that's a good match. When you reach out to a recruiter, which is a good idea to get yourself pulled out of the black hole, I like this phrase, a lot of people say, well, I meet your requirements. I like this phrase, I have what you need. Okay. Now, what they need may be more than on the job description. You don't know until you get a chance to talk to them. So I have what you need. And even if it's less than 50%, you may have some things that they don't even realize they need. We have some talents and some experience that they didn't even recognize. I mean, I have a story where a product marketing kind of manager was an expert in valves. And so she worked for Honeywell. But this small company who did mainly defense work was very interested in her, primarily because she worked at Honeywell, not because she knew valves, but because she worked at Honeywell. And they wanted her to do power supplies or something, something totally different. But they valued the Honeywell name, her experience with Honeywell, the contacts she had. They changed the job description to remove the requirement, to know something about power supplies, and so they could hire her. Okay, so she had what they needed, and it wasn't on the job description.
Right, you never know what keyword off your resume is going to attract them.
Right. The biggest thing I learned from Carol Burkell about resumes, it's just one simple phrase. You got to remember that resumes are scanned. They're not read. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean they're never read, but when they're going through their list of resumes, they're scanning it for keywords. Okay. The application tracking system does that, but also the individual recruiters will do that. And they may be looking a little bit deeper than an ATS can do, but they're looking for key phrases and key experience. And so you need to make that easy to read so it pops out, and use those action words about what you did and what you achieved. And now a bit about interviewing against your resume, because it's pretty common, and in the PIC crew we do this as well. We'll ask you questions that came from the job description, and we'll ask you questions that came off your resume. So if you have 8 or 9 or 10 bullet points up at the top, you can expect to be asked about all of them. So you want to have a little achievement story behind everything you put up there as your key expertise, right? And so the ones that match up with this particular job can be put in the top row or the top column, as Jeff mentioned. But anything you put on there, you want to have a story to back it up. Sometimes people show up in a practice interview and we'll say, well, it says here that, you're good at so-and-so. Tell me a little bit more about that. And they'll go, is that on my resume? So, yep, it's on your resume. So be prepared when the interview comes up. that resume you submitted will be the source of questions during the interview.
And I think one other very, very important, when you do get that phone call on Yippee-Yi-Yay, you get that phone call and you're all excited. To me, one of the first questions I would ask that person is, so what was it about my resume that made you call me? Because you don't know, it could have been because of Honeywell. It could have been because of one little word you had down on the second page of your resume. You never really know what's important to them, but if you can find out why they called you, you then have a better idea on how you can try to land an interview by making sure you talk about that item. So, any other comments or questions from anybody? All right, let me share a couple more screens here. Let's see here. So if you'd like to get, if you were not able to get the sample resume, the one-page bio, the T cover letter that we put in the presentation, send me an email to resume@careerdfw.org. Let me know what you're looking for, and I will get those things to you. I tend not to check that email account, but like once a week, so it may be Saturday before I get to it. But if you'd like to get those samples, if you're not able to download them out of the chat box, please reach out to me and I'll be glad to get those items to you. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us tomorrow morning at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We're going to have open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you'd like to talk about. If you have questions about your resume, questions about interviewing, questions about LinkedIn, questions about whatever in your job search, please bring them. We'll have a bunch of people who will be able to answer. You'll be able to, if you have an answer for somebody else, you're more than welcome to offer your opinion and suggestions. It's always a great time. I really enjoy open forum because we really sort of get to talk about who knows what. There's no preset conditions. So just no politics and no religion. Those are the only two no-nos that we don't talk about. Next Tuesday, our presentation is going to be with Terry Sullivan, how to create a LinkedIn brand that tells your key contacts who you are, what you do, and how you can help. This presentation will not be recorded to view after the event. So if you want to watch it, you do need to watch it live on Zoom or on Facebook, but we will be deleting it off of Facebook as soon as the event's over. Next Wednesday, join the practice interview team, brand new for 2022. You can actually watch a real practice interview. You can watch the practice team. You can watch the person being interviewed. Yesterday, we did this for the first time. It worked out great. And I thought it was really a wonderful presentation. It worked out really, really well. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back in person in the next couple months. And when that happens, this is what you'll actually get to do. You'll be able to come watch a real practice interview. So it's only on Zoom. So if you want to watch it, it will not be on Facebook, only on Zoom only, and it will not be recorded. So you do need to watch it live if you want to participate. Next Thursday being the second Thursday of the month, we'll talk about networking, how to network from your network with John McDormand. Many of you may remember John from the Douglas Baptist Church. It was the career transition workshop on Monday nights. John taught that for many, many years. Great presenter, great information. So that'll be our presentation next Thursday. And then in 2 weeks, when we do on the third Thursday, we talk about resumes. We have a special guest speaker, Larry LaBelle, will be with us. I saw a presentation he did out of Florida. He's from Florida, and he's going to talk about his point of view for resumes. So he'll be presenting that in 2 weeks. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. Otherwise, you'll just get a list of all the different videos in random order. And when you click on playlist, then you can select resumes, interviewing, LinkedIn, networking, and then click on the video, then click below the video where you see the red arrow where it says view full playlist. And then up will come a list of all the different titles and topics and dates. And you can see the most current event that's been listed there that you can go back and watch at your convenience. If you're not receiving any emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, you're welcome to do so. Send an email to Career USA, +subscribe@groups.io. You'll never be spam, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the talk for the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link for the day. That way you can open up the email and pop right into our videos on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So that's the easiest way to join us. I'll put this email address up here at the very end and leave it up for a little bit. Please remember, Career at FW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. I'm a volunteer, Mark's a volunteer. All of our speakers have been volunteers. Career at FW survives on donations. Please consider making one when you get your next opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great rest of Thursday. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer where you are. I know it's nice and chilly here today. So hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning. If not, we'll see you one day next week.
Hey, Jeff, if